When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. It is important to view knowledge as sort of a semantic tree. Make sure you understand the fundamental principles, the trunk and big branches, before you get into the leaves/details, or there is nothing for them to hang on to. I think it's very important to have a feedback loop, where you're constantly thinking about what you've done and how you could be doing it better. I think it's important to reason from first principles rather than by analogy. The normal way we conduct our lives is we reason by analogy. With analogy, we are doing this because it's like something else that was done, or it is like what other people are doing. With first principles, you boil things down to the most fundamental truths, and then reason up from there. In terms of the internet, it's like humanity acquiring a collective nervous system. Whereas previously we were more like a collection of cells that communicated by diffusion. With the advent of the internet, it was suddenly like we got a nervous system. It's a hugely impactful thing. I think it's very important to have a feedback loop, where you're constantly thinking about what you've done and how you could be doing it better. I think that's the single best piece of advice. Constantly think about how you could be doing things better and questioning yourself. If you punish people too much for failure, then they will respond accordingly and the innovation you will get will be very incrementalist. Nobody's going to try anything bold for fear of getting fired or punished in some way. The risk/reward must be balanced, in favor of making bold moves. The first step is to establish that something is possible, then probability will occur. There have to be reasons that you get up in the morning and you want to live. Why do you want to live? What's the point? What inspires you? What do you love about the future? If the future does not include being out there among the stars and being a multi-planet species, I find that incredibly depressing. Take risks now and do something bold. You won't regret it. If the rules are such that you can't make progress, then you have to fight the rules. Don't confuse schooling with education. I didn't go to Harvard, but the people that work for me did. Starting a business is not for everyone. Generally, starting a business, I'd say, number one is to have a high pain threshold. When you first start a company, there's lots of optimism and things are great. Happiness at first is high, then you encounter all sorts of issues and happiness will steadily decline, and then you will go through a whole world of hurt, and then eventually, if you succeed, and in most cases, you will not succeed, if you succeed then, after a long time, you will finally get back to happiness. My theory is you'd rather be optimistic. I think I'd rather be optimistic and wrong than pessimistic and right. Because if you're pessimistic, it's going to be miserable. A lot of times, the question is harder than the answer. And if you can properly phrase the question, then the answer is the easy part. So, to the degree that we can better understand the universe, then we can better know what questions to ask. It's very important to like the people you work with. Otherwise, your job is going to be quite miserable. Life can't be just about solving problems. There have to be things that are exciting and inspiring that make you glad to be alive. Humanity can address a lot of the suffering that occurs in the world and make things a lot better. I think a lot of times people are quite sort of negative about the present and about the future, but really, if you are a student of history, when else would you really want to be alive? Now is the best time, pretty much. Those who think the past is better have not read enough history. I don't ever give up. I mean, I'd have to be dead or completely incapacitated.